Hi, my name is Alex Brown. The COVID 19 pandemic has impacted the world on a global scale, and the Caribbean is no exception. Many countries, such as St. Vincent, has faced many challenges. As a result, the education sector has been affected. The focus of this presentation is on developing an education policy for an area in the said Caribbean country, to combat the effects of this new normal caused by COVID 19 on the education system. Join us on this journey as we, the members of Group 5 of Foundation 1501, present our findings and suggestions in developing the education policy. I'll now turn over to Shamika Shepherd, who will present on the goals of the education policy document and also the objectives of the education policy document.
Goals of the Education Policy Document. To strengthen the knowledge of teachers and students on technology, that is, there will be a diverse environment for learning in the modern world of technology. To improve the education system, to make it more flexible, reliable, reflexive, and adaptable to changes. To have flexible and reliable educators, that is, to have educators that are able to use the modern day devices and teaching techniques in the education system. To create an environment for teachers, students, and parents to have affordable and low cost technology to improve skills and enhance the teaching environment. To allow students to be self-empowered through learning as a team players and fostering group learning. The objective of the education document policy: to have personnel within the education system, which includes heads of the education division, to implement devices such as internet hardware and software, computers and laptops, to have the necessary support to enhance the modern day teaching techniques within the education system. Create a change in the learning syllabus which caters to the modern learning techniques of students, which introduces the use of technology. To have frequent courses and workshops for teachers to further develop their skills in the use of technology devices to enhance learning in these changing times. Develop critical thinking skills in students through the use of reflective learning. To enhance develop problem solving skills of students. I will now hand you over to Afian, who will discuss the situational analysis and develop the level of education.
Situational analysis. The deadly COVID 19 pandemic continues to spread worldwide, leaving most countries devastated. The effects of COVID 19 has been cited by UNESCO as widespread and damaging. It has impacted the primary education system in St. Vincent. It has created a new normal, a different approach to teaching and learning. In St. Vincent, it has been recorded by UNESCO that the learning gap has widened because of some students and families' poor socioeconomic status. This policy document will provide recommendations of ways in which stakeholders of the education system in the community of Richmond Kingston. St. Vincent can use reflexive practice to overcome the challenges in the education system since the advent of COVID 19. Goldman and records state that the new normal of online teaching has affected learners' mental, physical, and social health. This also caused more stress on families as they are heavily depending on schools to assist students in areas of literacy, numeracy, technology, cognitive development, and critical thinking. Due to the limited access to the internet and the electrical devices, students' enrichment are left behind and have experienced a decrease in performance. Students' performance and participation in online classes have suffered because of their socioeconomic condition age, supervision, and maturity. This education policy puts forward solutions that will help enhance the teaching and learning process and maximize all students' potential. In addition, this will seek to assist all stakeholders involved in the educational process, particularly the learners as they transition to alternative teaching methods. Level of education. In this education policy document, there is an outline of methods and approach that can be used in the primary level of education. These, once implemented, will improve students' performance and, in general, add to a better quality of teaching and learning. This education policy document targets learners at the primary level of education. In the Caribbean, these commonly consist of students between the ages of 4 to 12 years of age. It is essential that these learners at this age are catered for as they are developing a foundation for the academic success. The policies put forward will not only aid in the academics but will focus on other aspects of their well-being such as social and physical well-being. I will now hand over to Kida, who will explain the stakeholders' involvement.
Stakeholders' participation in the education policy document. It is impossible to overstate education stakeholders' value in policy decision making and policy implementation for educational development. This importance is because governments around the world no longer function as institutions. Stakeholders in education are a collection of persons with a vested interest in the education industry. Stakeholders are a collection of people who are concerned about a school's well being, success, and advancement. The stakeholders identified to participate include Principals Association, Teachers Trade Union, Parents Teachers Association, Ministry of Education, National Students Council, and corporate organizations. Role of stakeholders. The primary school students are the main stakeholders within the policy. Principals Association. The principals will be integral in providing leadership linked to both to students and teachers. Helps to promote education programs within the school and encourages the improvement of teaching and learning in his or her school. Teachers Trade Union. The teachers have to have a stronger voice in dealing with professional matters relating to education. Parent Teachers Association. For the policy to incorporate effectively, both parents and teachers should be actively involved. PTA adds to the overall educational environment and learning experience of students through the involvement of parents and teachers as a whole. The Ministry of Education, the Education Ministry, is in the chief organizer of education content delivery. Therefore, they are integral to being the agent to foster the needed changes in the education curriculum. National Students Council. This is a body responsible for student leadership and is the voice of change that speaks on behalf of student population. They are of utmost importance because they will be the ones to inspire change in their peers to participate. Corporate organizations. Corporate organizations work together to pursue a common goal. For example, they can assist in funding, mentorships, guest speakers, or mobilization of other entities to support schools in the community. I will now hand over to Odessa Beckles, who will discuss access to educational opportunities, financial and economic relevance, training, teachers, students, and others, and curriculum, context, and delivery. Thank you.
Access to educational opportunities. The COVID 19 pandemic posed tremendous challenges for many educators throughout the world. However, It was an adaptive and transformative challenge for educators, parents, and students worldwide. The rules to continuing education during a pandemic cannot be found in any book. The COVID 19 pandemic has created the most significant disruption of education systems in history, affecting nearly 1.6 billion learners in more than 190 countries and all continents. Closures of schools and other learning spaces have impacted 94% of the world's student population, up to 99% in low and lower middle income countries, UNESCO 2020. Schools were closed for an extended period. As a result, the extended closures forced schools to implement remote learning to maintain continuity of education for their students. The prolonged closure of schools has far-reaching implications for students' current and future development, particularly those living in more vulnerable households. Education leaders must swiftly design responses and develop an action plan explicitly catering to different levels of children shortcomings. There were several challenges facing primary education when the pandemic started. Some of the challenges were the inability to access and acquire devices, inability to access the alternative platforms due to lack of electricity and internet connectivity, lack of motivation of students, digital literacy and technical issues, lack of online learning platforms suitable for special needs students, curriculum structure and quality, lack of discipline, and an abundance of distractions. This policy document will offer some recommendations, of which some of these are: there should be curriculum reform. Stakeholders should recognize the importance of teachers and teaching profession and collaborative teaching. There should be teacher training, training of students and parents to utilize online platforms, provide more opportunities for teachers to engage and access staff development sessions, and the curriculum instruction. Financial and economic relevance. The uncertainty brought on by the COVID 19 pandemic has impacted the economy of every country. St. Vincent is by no means exempt from this. St. Vincent's economy is heavily dependent on tourism. Unfortunately, the tourism product was hit the hardest because of the ban placed on travel worldwide. The distribution of devices to some grade levels and not the other posed significant challenges for students who could not access a device. In addition, some students had internet connectivity issues. Additionally, there was a lack of technological support and literacy for many students, parents, and teachers to continue primary education during the pandemic. In addition, finance was critical as the age-old problems of schools not being funded sufficiently were magnified. Some of the issues heightened during the COVID 19 pandemic in primary schools were long standing, but lack of funding posed a continuous challenge. Consequently, if there is no resolution to these challenges, there needs to be additional funding. This policy document can only be effective if funding can be provided or sourced to execute or bring the recommendations to reality. Recommendations. Where will finance be sourced from? Government funding or government grants, alumni, sister CARICOM countries, corporate businesses and corporate citizens, international donors, charity organizations, and other countries. Training for teachers, students, and others. UNESCO's 2020 report on education highlighted the significance of teachers' daily role and their role in the pandemic. In addition, teachers played a significant role in continuing education throughout the pandemic. Education is changing. The way we teach is changing. Technology is changing. The nature of work and the pandemic showed us that there is a growing skill gap between students and teachers. We need to adapt to the technological age. So many of us are used to the physical classroom. We had to shift, making the online platform our classroom. Curriculum context and delivery. There is no doubt that the pandemic has caused unprecedented disruptions and massive changes to education. However, as schools return, these changes may disappear. Moreover, not all changes are necessarily the changes we want in education. Nevertheless, the pandemic had created a unique opportunity for educational changes proposed before COVID 19, but was never fully realized. As a result, there is now a greater need to engage in education reform, as what we teach and how we teach should be revised. some areas of concern. Some of these are the inability to cater to the learning styles of all students, reading comprehension and vocabulary levels of students, not being able to identify students' learning styles, curriculum focusing on core subjects. The curriculum is not inclusive. There is a need for a technology upgrade, lack of internet access on the school's campuses. Recommendations: provide opportunities for students to be able to communicate their true feelings and check their mental state. Provide a state of the art technology lab and mobile devices in the classroom. Provide training for teachers in child psychology and outfit schools with guidance counselors. Provide students with an outlet to develop or nurture their creative skills, example, art and craft, music, sewing, cooking, baking, even forming a STEM club. Make computer science or technology a core subject. I will now hand you over to Alf Glasgow, who will present on the role of reflexive practice in this policy.
Thank you. My name is Alf Blask and I will represent the role of reflexive practice in the educational policy post COVID 19 pandemic. Reflective practice is learning through and from experience. In this process, the practitioner gains new insights of self and practice, according to Finley 2008. Many scholars have coined different models of reflection. Three main models that will be used within the policy are Gibbs Reflective 1998 cycle as one. According to the article published by the Cambridge International Education Teaching and Learning Team, this must be a six-stage approach, leading from a description of the experience to conclusion and consideration for future events. Within education, policy reflection is one of the most integral aspects of the policy for it to be a success. The article also mentioned that Gibbs' 1998 model starts with the description stage, where the practitioner states an outline of the problem. Then, in the feeling stage, thoughts and feelings about the situation are expressed, followed by the evaluation phase, where issues are discussed and analyzed. Additionally, the practitioner makes sense of experience in the analysis stage to see hindrance. Finally, at this stage, the practitioner puts the ideas into perspective because of an understanding gained, which leads to the final stage of formulation of an action plan. This is where a summary is done to create a step by step plan for a new learning experience, for example, online learning. This model is essential to educational policy. It will guide the stakeholders to lend support and assist the schools in meeting their goals of strengthening the knowledge of technology for students and teachers. A key aspect of reflection is that it fosters autonomous learning. In utilizing the various reflection models, individuals can access and self teach themselves from previous experiences or the current experience by being aware of what has happened in order to shape their actions in reaction to the event. This process takes place within the natural human daily operation that helps us to understand place within the natural human daily operation that helps us to understand, focus on within. This concept is known as the reflective process, where the individual searches themselves for the solution to the problems by individual evaluation, looking into the mirror. It is paramount of importance that the individual can reevaluate their previous output in order to continue a healthy learning experience for future development. The benefit implications, effectiveness, and relevance of reflective practice to the educational policy. The education policy has many benefits. Students can participate in brainstorming activities that will force them to think critically and look back on past experiences. It will encourage innovative thinking, encourage and promote student engagement. It allows students to create a sense of responsibility for their thoughts. It inspires students to be confident in making rational decisions. fosters self awareness. Implications: if the recommendations provided are not adhered to, the implications for learning will be severe. Some of these implications are: students will not be able to cope with learning materials. Students need to understand the materials that is before them. The materials must be age appropriate and cater to the needs of each student. The absence of the resources in the classrooms can cause extreme distress to the students and teachers. Not only the students and teachers are in anguish, but they are unable to learn the fullest potential because they are not being given the proper resources. Parents will not be able to assist their children effectively. Some common causes for awkward parent teacher relationships, which often lead to a lack of parent involvement in school and classroom activities, including the fear of being judged by a teacher due to educational level or career. This fear can be a social fear, as more parents may feel reclusive and uncomfortable in social settings. The task of involvement often leads to parents not being able to assist their children because of their social being. School principals will not be able to manage and develop problem solving mechanisms to help students with course content. It if the principal of these institutions do not offer the support and resources to work with, then developing mechanisms to help students will not be possible. The observations reveal that the challenges of using instructional material are non-accessibility of materials, the laziness of the teachers, lack of skill and strategies, financial constraint, lack of support from an authority, and lack of appropriate materials all contribute to principals not being able to manage their schools and staffs effectively. Teachers will not be able to reach students who do not readily understand the topic immediately. Some students find it difficult to understand concepts immediately. As a result, many such teachers, have to reteach the concept or find alternative teaching methods to help the student grasp the idea entirely. When they happen, some teachers reflect on their practices, delivery, and how they connect with their students. Reflection is necessary to cover those weaknesses that can reinforce with resolve and understanding. Students will not be able to effectively develop problem solving skills. Sometimes students cannot build their problem solving skills because of prior learning experiences. Problem solving helps students to think outside the box. If students are allowed to practice problem solving consistently, they can develop a greater situational and social awareness. Additionally, they learn to manage their time and develop patience. Students and teachers will not be able to manage their new technology. Lack of sufficient access to technical support, availability of computer labs, softwares, and time allocated to incorporate new technologies are sufficient challenges for teachers. There is a need for a state of the art computer lab to take education to the future. The goal to improve the educational system to make it more flexible, reliable, reflexive, and adaptable to change will not be possible. The COVID 19 pandemic has shown us that the ability to use education to transform our world can be realized unless systems embrace sustainable development. Consequently, education reform must be foremost on the agenda of the ministry officials. Also, with the technological aspect of this education moving forward. Effective collaborative learning will not be achieved. A sourcebook for higher education 1992 defines collaborative learning as a term used for various educational approaches involving a joint intellectual effort by students and teachers. This modern educational approach to learning, using groups to enhance learning through working together, has many benefits. Some of these benefits are developed or higher level thinking oral communication, self management, and leadership skills. In addition, it promotes student interaction and an increase in student retention, self esteem, and responsibility. The effectiveness and relevance. The reflection is helping the policy is helpful to the policy because although it allows for self-assessment at its core, Scone's 1983 model of reflection and action enables the individual to reflect on past experience. Students can make meaning of the situation such as errors, failures, and they will help be able to form after they happen. Hence, reflective learning is integral in the success of their education model. Also highlights the reflective practitioner can also reflect in action, meaning that while the situation is happening, learning can occur. Thus can prevent students from making common errors and learning at the moment. Therefore, reflection is a relevant aspect of the model. Because of the pandemic, the educational system was disrupted due to the implementation of quarantine and social distancing measures. Consequently, students and teachers had to stay at home for long periods away from the classroom to help stem the flow of the COVID 19 virus. However, by doing this, the curriculum objectives were not achieved, and instead, classes and other learning activities had to be done through the internet. Hence, it was more difficult for students to participate actively because they did not use the new devices effectively. Therefore, the reflective practice would be integral in the understanding of navigating cyberspace and being autonomous. Moreover, they are no longer in the classroom walls with peers and teachers in their presence. I will now pass over to Alex.
Thank you so much, Alf. Reflection on the ways in which the group experienced the reflexive practice in preparation for the collaborative task. Our group's task utilized the 6 stages of Gibbs' reflective cycle during this assignment. Starting at the description phase, we came together to read through the assignment. Next, we move on to the feeling stage, where we were able to reflect on our individual experiences during the early stage of the pandemic compared to what's happening now in the education system in our varying countries. Next, we were able to voice our opinions about what we thought about the assignment and try to understand it based on the course content learned. After this, we progressed to the evaluation stage, analyzing what needed to be done. Afterward, we progressed to the analysis step, where we were able to identify our strengths and weaknesses in the assignment and gather information on the dynamics of the group in terms of learning styles, strengths, and capabilities. Next, we were able to understand the topic in more detail as we shared ideas. Then we decided to assign tasks based on our strengths and expertise, which look which took us to the conclusion phase, where we were able to agree on what we needed to do. Then we set out to the final phase of formulating the action plan, where we were able to decide our way forward to complete the assignment. As plans were put in place and tasks allocated, and a time frame was given to complete the assignment. His reflective cycle allowed us to be a bit more versed and detailed in our approach. Hence, reflective practice was an ideal component in completing the assignment, as it allowed us to come to terms with what needed to be done. We relied on past experiences and course content and used Gibbs' model to carry out what needed to be done. Profile of the group. Based on activities completed throughout Unit 1, we realize that we are a diverse group with varying strengths and weaknesses. We mostly share the kinesthetic learning style within the group and are multimodal based on the VAR questionnaire completed. Additionally, we have learners who are reflective practitioners and are self empowered, reflective learners, analytical thinkers, problem solvers, and critical thinkers. On the other hand, we have members who struggle with varying issues, such as time management, while others are masters of their time. Overall, having all the stakeholders actively involved in the developmental stage is integral for the education policy document's goals and objectives to be successful. In developing the curriculum at the primary level, incorporating reflective practice is essential to bring about change. Reflective, reflexive practice and theories, such as the Gibbs reflective model, will allow principals and teachers to reflect on their experiences to make the necessary adjustments to improve students' learning. Thus, this will enhance and develop the problem solving skills of students. As a result, the education system will be improved to make it more flexible, reflective, reflexive, and adaptable to changes. This is vital in the policy. This is vital in the policy as it allows for students, teachers, parents, principals, and all stakeholders to know how to plan and apply their learning for future. SCON's reflection on action and inaction is vital for teachers to develop confidence in delivering course content and to allow students to be self empowered by learning independently. This will help students to be autonomous as it provides for reflection during and after learning. Now, Kolb's model is essential for the success of the policy document to enhance collaborative learning and to reinforce concepts. In addition, parents through the PTA will be reached and helped using the model to assist their children with the new technology. Additionally, because of scarce resources, seeking assistance from corporate entities is essential to providing the necessary resources to execute the outline, the plans outlined in the policy, to access electronic devices and state-of-the-art facilities to facilitate students' learning. Having frequent courses and workshops will empower students, teachers, and parents to further develop their skills in using these technological devices to enhance learning and delivery. Thank you for listening to our presentation.